Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, 2 USDA grants will hopefully put more locally grown food into Mississippi's school cafeterias.
In the future, that food may be grown with the help of agricultural robots. These are not science fiction play toys.
In southern gardening, fall color. Cooler weather can let colors shine through.
In the markets, a proposed ethanol cutback is not a big mover for the corn sector, as pond bank catfish prices continue to inch higher as the year ends.
In the feature segment, peanuts. It's still a small acreage crop, but it's growing as farmers and peanut companies invest in Mississippi.
Birdsong peanuts put in a buying point in Aberdeen about 15 miles from here out in what we call Prairie, Mississippi, a few years back, and it really did help all the farmers in North Mississippi. Instead of us having to take our peanuts 300 and something miles, we take them 15 now, and it allows us to pick late in the afternoon.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
2 Mississippi entities have received federal grant money to extend the Farm to School program.
Leighton Farm to School seeks to bring fresh, locally grown produce into local school cafeterias. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced this week that it is making grants to expand the program in 42 states. Overall, the USDA will give grants for 71 projects in those 42 states. It will affect more than 13,000 schools and 2.8 million students. 45% of those live in rural areas. Here in Mississippi, the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians is receiving more than $43,000. Overweight and obese children are a problem as well among Native Americans. The money will be used to put locally produced foods on the menu in the Choctaw school system. The nonprofit, the Partnership for Healthy Mississippi, has received $89,844. The partnership grant will seek to expand the Farm to School program with an eye toward including small and medium-sized farmers.
Those who have gardens or farm complain about weeds. Weeding gardens is certainly no fun, and weeding whole farms even less so. Agricultural robots are coming, and they will probably end up performing hand labor you thought they could never do. Market to Market's Mike Pearson reports.
The future of farming may now be in the hands of robots. With advances in technology, computers and robots are able to perform the tasks of factory and office workers, cutting back the need of human workers. Engineers from Silicon Valley in California have designed a robot to assist with farming duties. Known as the lettuce bot, these intelligent machines use video cameras and software that distinguishes good lettuce buds from the bad. The bad lettuce buds are eliminated with a small dose of concentrated fertilizer, which enriches the soil in the process.
And the nice thing about lettuce bot is that it does it automatically, it does it very fast, and it does it in a better way with more information than a human can.
Just one lettuce bot not only improves production, but it can also inspect an entire field of lettuce in the time it would have taken about 20 workers to do the same job by hand.
Labor is getting more difficult to find, and having something automated like this can reduce the amount of people we need to do a field.
By making field work more efficient and less expensive, robots like the lettuce bot have the potential to aid in recent labor shortages. They are also expected to produce a consistently better quality product with higher yields. Additionally, farm robots might play a role in lessening the unknowns of immigration reform. Potential aside, the robots also come with their own set of pitfalls. On top of being clumsy, the machines struggle with distinguishing produce from leaves and branches and inadequately selecting ripe produce. The biggest challenge with the robots is developing one that can harvest fresh fruit. Engineers at Agrobot are hoping to make these developments by testing their strawberry harvester with local growers in Southern California. Engineers at Blue River Technology also plan to develop machines that automate weeding and harvesting. In addition to Blue River, Vision Robotics in San Diego is developing machines similar to the lettuce bot, as well as a robotic pruner for wine grapes. Since robots, like the lettuce bot and the strawberry harvester, still must undergo further testing, it will likely be several years before they are available for commercial use.
Well, as we approach Thanksgiving, let's check on the Mississippi Weekly Crop Report from the Mississippi Ag Statistics Service in Jackson. This report reflects conditions as of last Sunday. And as they say in the farming game, we are getting in the short rows. Looks like surplus soil moisture in the state has gone up 14%, adequate still 78%, short 8%. As we look at Mississippi soybeans, the crop basically completed as far as harvesting, which is good news at this state. Mississippi cotton up 4 points. It's practically finished as well, 97%. Harvested average for the state is 96%. Mississippi peanuts, 99% of the crop dug. Basically, the crop is all dug, which is ahead of the 5-year average. 88% of the crop is harvested, which is slightly behind the 5-year average. Mississippi sweet potatoes, ahead of the 5-year average. 97% of the crop is complete. Mississippi wheat, 82% of the crop is planted, which is about on the 5-year average. That was up 14 points in the last week. Emergence is 63%, which is ahead of the 5-year average. That was up 15 points from the previous week. In terms of condition, things looking pretty good so far. 1% of the crop in excellent shape, good 64%, fair 35%. Well, don't give in to the temptation to replace your summer bedding plants too fast. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman says cooler fall weather may give your garden a second wind of color.
Many years, the cool fall temperatures give our summer plants one more chance for a colorful show. Today I'm at the North Mississippi Research and Extension Center in Verona and sharing some of their beautiful landscape trial gardens. While we are in the fall season, the landscape zinnia are getting their second wind. I really like the Sahara cherry zinnia. The cooler temperatures are allowing the bright pastels of the zinnia to shine in their landscape bed. One of the hottest trends for any season in landscape color is anything burgundy. A plant that I think is a fantastic choice for our Mississippi landscapes is Mahogany Splendor hibiscus. This plant has leaves with deep, coarse serrated edges that are a dark and dramatic burgundy purple color. Many times a visitor will do a double take thinking this is a Japanese maple. Mahogany Splendor is a vigorous growing plant. This group has been pruned to maintain a manageable size. Ornamental peppers are one of those plants that wait until the fall months to heat up the landscape. Perfect examples are these masquerade peppers. The fruit are held upright above the foliage, seeming to be showing off the colors ranging from yellow, orange, red, and bright lavender. These peppers are really hot in the landscape. While we're being tempted to plant cool season bedding plants, being patient with our summer plants can reward us in the fall season. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Now, Leighton Gary says that you might want to consider avoiding planting the masquerade peppers if you have children that might be tempted to sample the painfully hot fruits. Well, in the feature segment today, Mississippi peanuts. Don Self of Hamilton says they're the right crop to add to his crop mix on his farm. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, you say the EPA proposal to reduce the use of corn ethanol has the grain sector's attention.
It certainly does, and the question is, how much could this move increase corn stockpiles in the United States? Also coming up in our segment in the markets, the wheat sector trying to find more demand for that grain. U.S. poultry exports continue to grow, and pondbank catfish prices in the United States are still rising. Some analysts say the Environmental Protection Agency's proposal to reduce the amount of corn ethanol being blended with gasoline is certainly bad timing for the grain markets. Trader Jamie Kohaki is among many analysts who believe the U.S. corn crop is getting bigger, and he thinks using less of it to make ethanol now will only increase the stockpiles and potentially drop the price.
I think the timing of it was terrible. We got obviously a large crop, large carryout, and we do it on a year like this, where I think if they wanted to adjust it, we could have done it last year, year before, when we didn't have a crop, a shorter crop, and supplies were tighter, but it is what it is. The corn market looks very, very weak to me still. I would be selling rallies here up against this week's highs. And I'll also be looking out into the December 14 crop and getting hedged up out in there, up around 490 if somehow we could get a rally up in there. But same here as kind of wheat. There's just not a lot of fresh news. The crop seems to be getting bigger. I look for the December crop report to be bearish as well, more than this month's. And I look for the market kind of hover in the low fours. I think $4 does hold right now if demand stays where it is currently.
Corn is not the only grain where large supplies are a problem these days. Global stocks of wheat are also big. Analyst Don Roos says the search is on for more demand.
We do have just huge global supplies. So you're in a supply bear market. We did get a relief rally, gave us some support. We pushed up to some real resistance areas, but now we're pushing back down, trying to find some demand. India's joined the mix and trying to sell some of their wheat XX supplies. Who would have thought? So that's really the tell of the tape for the wheat market.
Foreign demand for U.S. poultry is not a problem right now. Data released by the Foreign Agricultural Service and Poultry and Egg Export Council show that exports in this sector are running at a record pace. Analysts note that poultry exports are growing marginally in both quantity and value compared to only a year ago. Our trivia quiz this week concerns maple syrup. Here's the quiz question. What country produces 80% of our world's supply of maple syrup? Is it Canada, or the United States, or Denmark, or France? I'll tell you at the end of the markets.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports that beef cattle prices remain firm. Catfish prices have risen. In the feature segment today, see why peanuts have gained a permanent spot on the farms of some Mississippi growers.
Our tradition of learn by doing is creating new opportunities. My 4-H is involved with service projects in communities all across our state.
We develop leaders for Mississippi's future.
My 4-H is science and technology, everything from computers and robotics to exploring our environment.
My 4-H promotes active lifestyles and encourages physical fitness, healthy foods, and nutrition.
My 4-H is Mississippi 4-H.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The annual row crop short course takes place at Mississippi State University. This is the place you want to be if you're going to try to figure out what you did wrong this year and see how to improve in 2014. It takes place on campus Monday through Wednesday, December 2nd through the 4th. Weed resistance, sensor-based irrigation, and a lot more are on the agenda. Register by November 29th and it's free. After that, it's $40. We'll have a link to help you sign up. A one-day workshop on managing wild pig damage in Mississippi is Thursday, December 5th. Location is the Pontotoc County branch of the Extension Service on Hardin Drive in Pontotoc. Please register by Monday, December 2nd. The cost is $20. You'll learn about trapping and removal techniques. You'll also hear about wild hog diseases and the implications for humans and domestic livestock. We'll have a phone number on our Farm Week calendar. Go to our Farm Week calendar for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Farm Week continues with a check of the latest snapshot of the U.S. farm-raised catfish industry. These numbers reflect what was happening during the month of October. Let's look at the data. The pond bank price, the price farmers received, was $1.10 per pound for premium-sized live fish. That's an increase of 30 cents per pound from 1 year ago. Farm sales topped 26 million pounds round weight, a decrease of 8% from a year ago. Processor sales total 13.5 million pounds in October. That's a drop of almost 2% from October 2012. Ahead of the Friday, November 22nd USDA cattle on feed report, analysts were saying they expected a big jump in placements, along with a smaller increase in marketings. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams discussed the beef sector with me Tuesday this week. Brian, up until this week, we've had some nice solid activity, we might say, in fat cattle, but you're saying we may be seeing a little bit of a change here in the market this week?
Yeah, this month has been fairly strong in the cattle markets, but the last couple days we've seen them come down a little bit. It seems like there's some inconsistencies in the cash market, plus we're bumping up onto the holiday season and trade's kind of slowing down a little bit.
But supplies are definitely still tight. That factor has not changed.
Definitely, supplies are tight, and they seem like they're just getting tighter and tighter as time goes on.
Would you expect any kind of rally in that sector, you know, between now and end of the year?
I think for the next month or so, with the holidays and the trade being slow, and demand for poultry products such as turkey being a little bit higher at this time of the year, I think we'll see prices remain fairly steady, but I do see some potential for them to pick up again after the holidays.
So we may say, in short, market stays supported as far as the fat cattle. All right, on the feeder side, we're still seeing, you know, some record highs there. What are you seeing for feeder cattle?
Yeah, the interesting thing is we've been talking about this for quite a while now. When is cattle expansion going to be coming? And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing more heifer retention now than we have in quite some time. So that's tightening the feeder supplies even more, with producers holding those heifers on farm.
But right now we are in this situation again, tightest supplies since what, the 1950s?
Yes, very tight supplies.
All right, how do producers, you know, as far as their marketing and planning, how do they react where we are in this market right now?
Well, it's as I say, the markets I think are going to remain fairly steady through Christmas. I think we'll see them pick up into this next spring. Corn prices are down with the harvest coming in and just about finished up, a record corn harvest. So I think that things are still looking good for the cattle markets, and just keep an eye on the markets.
Before our new feature story, let's check that trivia answer for this week. And the correct choice is A, Canada. The other 20% comes from the United States. Maple syrup is, by the way, an entirely North American product.
In our feature story today, Farmweek's Amy Taylor says peanuts are still a new crop to some Mississippi farmers, but it's one that's going to be here a while. Amy?
Artists, some Mississippi farmers who are looking to diversify their crops and become more profitable are seeing new opportunities in growing peanuts. In recent years, Mississippi Peanut Growers Association has been working with the National Peanut Board to promote peanuts through research, marketing, and educational efforts. Don Self of Hamilton says his family operation, Self Farms, has benefited by adding peanuts to the crops they produce. As generating profit continues to challenge rural America, some farmers are finding new ways to achieve economic stability. Don Self, who owns and operates Self Farms with his family, says growing peanuts practically helped save the farm. They started growing peanuts in 2007 and now sell to a company who buys the peanuts and markets them to be used in peanut butter and candy bars. Self says one of the perks of growing this crop is the short commute required to deliver peanuts to the buyer.
Birdsong peanuts put in a buying point in Aberdeen, about 15 miles from here, out in what we call Prairie, Mississippi, a few years back, and it really did help all the farmers in North Mississippi. Instead of us having to take our peanuts 300 and something miles, we take them 15 now, and it allows us to pick late in the afternoon. We can take a truck before we had to stop to get a truckload. It has really helped us more than we could ever say.
Self grows the Georgia 06G variety, also known as the runner peanut. peanuts grow best in sandy soil, and Self Farms plants them from seed between late April to mid-May and harvests in October. Self says he determines when it's harvest time by stopping every 100 yards and checking peanuts by scraping the shell. If the shell is white below the surface and the peanut inside is bronze colored, the crop is ready. Harvesting is a two-part process. Producers first use inverters to turn peanuts out of the ground. After drying for a few days, they're picked up with a combine. Don Self's father, Dennis, explains why the family decided to start planting peanuts.
Cotton had just run its course and the price had gotten so low and the yield had gotten so weak because we didn't practice proper crop rotation that we wasn't making any money out of the crop at all. So we discovered peanuts as an alternative. And of course, peanuts, like cotton or any other crop, you got to rotate them in order to get the maximum production out of them.
One of the most important reasons to rotate between crops in the field is to avoid plant disease settling in the soil and contaminating plants. Therefore, Self Farms usually divides the fields into thirds between peanuts, cotton, and corn, and rotates every 3 years. Mississippi State University Extension Service plant pathologist Dr. Alan Henn says currently the worst disease is known as southern stem rot.
Everybody loves a peanut because peanuts are so nutritious. They have lots of protein and they have lots of good flavor and taste. And so diseases are no exception to that. Diseases flock to peanuts. So working as a plant pathologist working on peanuts, I'm in seventh heaven because there's lots of diseases that go to peanuts. But probably the worst disease in our state right now is white mold, which causes a disease of peanuts called southern stem rot. And the reason it can be so bad is because of these little resting structures that you see in this Petri plate right here. You see these little round dots that kind of look like large BBs. And those can last for years in the soil. And they have over 644 different hosts, so even if you've got a couple weeds, there's probably a good host in there. They tend to replicate in, and you need long periods of rotations, at least 3 years between peanuts and a crop, a following crop of peanuts.
Furthermore, Dr. Henn says it's important not to add any crop to a rotation that's been known to host this disease.
We like to rotate to poorer hosts of this disease, and that is one of the reasons that soybean is not such a good rotation crop for peanuts, and that this disease of white mold will go to soybeans and reproduce very well on soybeans, not do a whole lot of damage to them, but then when you plant peanuts after that, you have a lot more white mold there than you did prior to planting soybeans.
Dr. Henn says potential signs of southern stem rot include wilting at the top of the plant, as well as peanut shells that are empty or only contain a white residue. Part of the reason for the growing success of the Mississippi peanut industry can be attributed to the Mississippi Peanut Growers Association and the National Peanut Board. Don Self says it's been a privilege serving on both boards, which are dedicated to enhancing the production, research, marketing, distribution, and utilization of peanuts. He says a small percentage of growers' earnings are what help fund this mission.
1% off the top comes to the National Peanut Board in the form of funds, and we take it back and educate people and promote peanuts in places where you wouldn't think that it should be. Like in the Culinary Institute of America, I just got back from out there, and people are just now learning, like they do in a lot of places like in China and Japan and Vietnam, how good a peanut is in the center of the plate. Instead of being a side dish, it's used in dishes in the center of the plate. Like in salads and in like a chicken with peanut crust on it.
In addition, Don Self says one of the goals in promoting peanuts is to market and export peanuts on an international level. Furthermore, Mississippi Peanut Growers Association and National Peanut Board members host meetings, conferences, and even visit schools to educate students and teachers about how peanuts are grown, as well as their nutritional value. Don Self says his personal aspirations for the future are to teach his grandchildren about the importance of agriculture and inspire them to carry on the family legacy.
That would be my goal, you know, that they would come up and take a interest in agriculture and, you know, feed the world like we do. If you have a child or a young person that has an interest in agriculture, I would ask that you steer them towards that. You make them stewards of our land. Get them off the video games and let them know that this is where stuff comes from. If they want to go out and dig in the dirt, encourage them to dig in the dirt. I want them to know that bacon comes from a pig. I want them to know that peanuts grow underground. Somebody's got to feed this country. And if we don't teach them how to do it, who does?
As promotion of the Mississippi peanut industry continues, Don Self and his family say they hope to see demand increase for this food product. Self claims that getting into the peanut business did seem risky, but some chances are worth taking when you have the right information and resources. From Hamilton, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting. You can watch this story on Mississippi peanuts on the Farmweek website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The website address is farmweek.msucares.com. We'll have a link where you can contact the Mississippi Growers Association and register for their annual meeting next February in Hattiesburg. Peanut growing advice is available from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Thank you, Amy. We are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, we'll have 2 feature stories for you.
Lee Washington is a high school vocational agricultural teacher. In his spare time, he turns his welding skills towards creating art.
Passing a business from one generation to the next can be a journey fraught with peril. You'll visit a Nebraska family and find out some of the pitfalls of passing on the family farm. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.